Hi everyone, so I'd just like to share with you a quick little project I've been working on recently. So this is just an aftercooler for my air compressor. Probably the best aftercooler I've ever made. So unlike my previous ones, which were just a copper coil and a bucket sitting next to the compressor, it wasn't portable at all, but this is nice, compact and portable and gives really good results. So this is just a small compressor. It's 1.5 horsepower. Well, that's electrical horsepower going in. I'd imagine the actual horsepower coming out will be considerably less. So the way I've got it set up is on the output of the air pressure switch, where the compressor's motor is, I've also connected in a small mains voltage aquarium pump, and I've just glued this hose into it, which then goes into this plate heat exchanger here. The cold water flows upwards this way and then comes out and then goes back into the bucket. So if you're building one of these, you could put ice or ice packs or whatever you want in there to get the water as cool as you like. Or I wouldn't recommend putting it below zero, because you'd just end up probably freezing and then splitting the heat exchanger, possibly, or more likely just block it. But the hot air just comes out here, it just hits the cold heat exchanger and the water condenses out, and then I've got this little water trap here which just separates out the vast majority of the water. Although I'm still concerned that a very small amount is still getting into the tank, but I think it's just because that water trap's a little bit too small. I want to actually open up this tank anyway, just take this check valve out, dry the tank out if there's any moisture in it, and then I'll just put some stones in it and shake them about, just to get any rust off the inside, empty those out, and then just coat the inside with paint. And that's what I did with this tank here. So this is a 12 kilogram butane cylinder, and I thought that they would make the butane cylinders weaker than the propane ones, but they don't. The butane cylinders are just as strong as the propane ones. I thought they would make them weaker because butane is at a much lower pressure than propane, and I thought it would make sense to make cylinders a bit thinner, but they're not. The test pressure of this cylinder is 29.2 bar. That's the pressure that they'll test it at to make sure it's still safe. So I only fill this cylinder to just under 9 bar, so it's well within safety. So all I did with this one is I just took the valve off, washed it out with soapy water. That didn't do much to get rid of the smell. You must get rid of the smell, because if you don't take the smell out, then, well, your air compressor is going to be a very, very unpleasant tool to use. But after I dried it out, after washing it, I just poured a load of paint in it and just slowly moved the cylinder about so the entire inside was coated. I then vacuumed out the excess paint and then just put in a tube connected to a airbed pump, just turned on low, and just circulated air around it until the paint was dry, and then put this sort of valve stack on it. So I've got a check valve there so you can fill it, pressure relief valve, that's really important, pressure gauge and outlet. So I'll do a little demonstration of this working. So this will be quite noisy. So yeah, there we go. This heat exchanger is, I'd imagine, much too large for this compressor, but there's no harm in using a heat exchanger that's too large. It's just going to make it slightly more efficient, that's all. So this heat exchanger would probably be better suited to a large V-twin sort of belt driven compressor, one that's much more powerful. But even though the air coming out this is absolutely roasting, you can hardly feel a temperature difference in the water because that hot air doesn't carry very much heat anyway. So it just immediately, all the heat gets ripped out. So I would actually like a bigger compressor because I want to do sand blasting and other stuff, but the thing is there's actually a compressor for sale near me. It's got an electrical problem, and it's absolutely massive. It's 3-phase 11 kilowatts, and I don't even know what kind of compressor it is. I'll probably just have to try and show you. So that's it here. It's only £50, but it's the size of, well, goodness knows what. It is absolutely enormous. I asked the guy what size it is, and it's 1.3 meters tall, by 1 meter by like 60 centimeters. It's pretty huge. It's bigger than a cooker, but this is what it looks like inside. So I'm not sure if that's a scroll or hydro vane compressor, but it's far too big for me to move, and I probably just don't have space to work on this. It's also 3-phase. Looking at a motor, I'm pretty sure that says 11 kilowatts. It's 3-phase, so I'd have to actually change out the motor on it, if the seller's been honest about it being an electrical problem. But the electrical problem that I can see, that there aren't even any electrics connected to the motor. That's the box where the cables are meant to go in, and there isn't even anything connected. He said it stopped working, so I'm a little bit suspicious about the whole thing. But for £50, well, if the compressor pump's still working, that's probably going to be worth a lot more than that. And even all those little air fittings and gauges and everything would be worth more than that. But the only way I can take this thing home with me is to totally take it to pieces and make several journeys back and forward. The motor would be one journey in itself. An 11 kilowatt 3-phase motor is a huge object. That's a potential project.